Hi guys, welcome to the next edition of the Coffee Course with me, Tom Hayes from Pangea Coffee Culture, and Jeff, also with us from Treebark Stores in Moycullen. This week we're going to do the Chemex. The Chemex, to me, this is what I make at home. It's my preferred method of brewing, mostly because I like the aesthetics of it. It's an old American style way of making coffee. Well, that's how it was meant to be, and then we've kind of added our own twists through the years on it. It's the sexiest way of making coffee, to be honest, at home. So much of this is like the V60. There's gonna be a lot of attributes from the V60 in this. So a lot of them we may have covered a little bit. You could check out that video maybe before jumping into this. I'm kind of going to go through the characteristics of the Chemex. So we're going to go through our stuff, mainly really good ingredients. That's the most important thing. So this week we're using Kenyan SL28 SL34 from Stone Valley. This is from Salisbury Hill. That's the name of it. And yeah, really good coffee, really important. There's no point in doing all these, going ahead and going through all these methods without having good ingredients. Also really good filtered water as well, soft water. So characteristics of a Chemex is our paper, obviously. That's one thing that's a little bit different than the Hario. It comes in squares or it comes in circles. It comes in either natural brown paper or there's the bleached. This is the bleached white paper, which I wouldn't usually use, but it's the only thing I have this week. So if you can use the brown paper, use the brown paper, and there's no real difference between the squares or the circles. So one characteristic thing is that it's folded, which can be, some people say it can be a bit of a disadvantage, which they're right. So what we do is it becomes pre-folded in the box like this. So when we fold it, we want 3 sides to be on one side and one piece of paper to be on the other. So you'll have 3 on this side and one on the other side. The 3-sided one is going to face the spout side. The reason this is done is because it gives more strength. The only thing that can happen with a Chemex is that it can actually create a seal around the whole spout. And what happens is you create a vacuum basically in the bottom part of the kettle of the Chemex. So the spout is there for one reason. So we put the 3 sides of the paper to give it a little bit of structural stability, so it doesn't create that vacuum. Some people might put a chopstick down there, or they might put a metal straw, so as a vacuum doesn't create. But really, what I do is just you'll see what I do, but after I wet the paper, I basically take the filter back out and then place it back in. You know, it's kind of common sense. So yeah, first off, I'm going to put the paper in, three sides to the spout. So I've got my filtered water here again from my kettle, and nice and gently, I'm going to rinse my paper. Because it's thicker on one side, you really want to wet this side a lot more than this side. I'm also wetting it to preheat the jug as usual. Warm up my Chemex. Just pull back this spout part and just rinse it down the drain. Just as my tip, so a seal doesn't get created, I just pull out the filter and pull it back in again and make sure it fits nice and tight, and check down the spout that you can see all the way to the bottom of the Chemex. I'm going to grind to a medium grind, much like our V60. Obviously it's hard to show on camera, but if you can get as close to that. The difference, I suppose, between V60 and Chemex is that it takes a little bit more time for the water to go through, because the paper is so thick and people tend to go a little bit more coarse. But I wouldn't worry too much about the time. I kind of keep my Chemex and my V60 a little bit, the majority of the same. So how we're brewing today is we're doing the same brew ratio. Roughly, we're going 65 grams to a liter. So I'm going to make 2 cups. So I'm going to make roughly about 32 to 35 grams of coffee for 500 milliliters of water. So I have my paper rinsed. I'm going to pour in my coffee. I'm going to evenly distribute it out, give it a nice flat bed. And just with my finger then, I'm going to create that little hole in the middle, so as to create a nice flat bed once I pour the coffee on. I'm going to tare my scales. I'm going to get my phone ready, which I should have had ready, but I have my stopwatch ready, get my water, and press start and start pouring concentric circles in the middle of my grinds. So I'm going to bloom today. I'm going to bloom about 70 milliliters of water on top of my grounds, just to initially wet my coffee. I'm going to give it a good swirl. I'm going to wait until it hits about 45 seconds, and then I'm going to start pouring again, and I'm going to try and get in 60% of my water again, so up to around 350 milliliters for my first pour. So it's 45 seconds, start my pour, nice concentric circles. You know, don't worry about pouring on the paper too much, but if you do, it's okay. Just make sure all that coffee is fully wet. Great. So I'm at 369 grams now, and I'm at 1 minute 24. I'm all out of water, so I'm going to go fill this up. Okay, sorry, I just filled up my jug. So I'm going to go ahead and do my second pour then, guys. And this is going to bring me up to the 500 milliliter line altogether. So nice concentric circles. Perfect. Great. At this stage, I'm going to give it another swirl. I'm going to do it clockwise, or whatever way the seam is. I'm going to make sure that the thick seam is on this side and the thinner seam is on the other side. And when I swirl it, that I push it down and not pushing the water underneath the seam. Otherwise, it'll find a shorter distance to go through the paper. Also, don't worry about if it takes more time than the V60. It's just natural. It's thicker paper, so as long as all the coffee is wet and it'll all brew at the same time, and as long as it goes through the coffee and the bed is flat, it should all be good. So we've got a nice flat bed at the end. We're just finishing dripping out. Everything's nice, smooth and even, and we don't have a lot of sediment left on the sides of the paper. So yeah, we can dispose with our perfectly placed bin here. Dispose of our grinds. Give it a swirl, make sure all the sediments are fully dissolved in the coffee. Then you can gain more friends by double pouring their coffee at the same time. We do this by using the spout and the end of the coffee. So. Now, 2 cups of coffee, guys. Enjoy. Thanks very much.
Hey guys, so that was Tom showing you the Chemex, and I have to say, that is a tasty cup of coffee.
It's good, it's nice, yeah. So Jeff, do you want to take us through some of the advantages around Chemex?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I remember the first time I actually saw Chemex was here in Galway, actually, in Loam Restaurant, the Michelin star restaurant.
Really?
Yeah, when they brought it out at the end of the meal, and just the visual aspect of that coffee being made. Did a table side, it looked great.
They did a table side and everything?
Table side, yeah. And at the time I was just kind of getting into specialty coffee, and I really enjoyed the experience. So there's that. I mean, that's purely aesthetic. There is the fact that that is even compared to V60, and I suppose it's to do with the folds in the paper and so forth, and the time that it takes. That's a really clean mouthfeel. The flavor profile you're getting is exactly what you would expect from that coffee, or you would hope for if you made it as best as you could.
Yeah.
And of course, there's the advantage too of the fact that it's relatively easy to make a large amount of coffee.
Yeah.
Using the Chemex. You can buy a 3-cup, 4-cup Chemex, and if you're catering for groups at home or whatever it may be, it's a great way to make a large amount of coffee.
Yeah.
But for yourself then, Tom, like, what would you think? Some downsides?
Disadvantages to Chemex? Yeah, there's a few. Of course, the obvious fact is made of glass, so yeah, look, it breaks sometimes. I've had mine now for I think 4 years now, so I've been lucky. Yeah, look, I just love the aesthetics of it. The other side then, obviously the vacuum that I was talking about as well. Yeah. The vacuum was
Can be an issue.
It can be a bit of an issue. I've never come across it. So yeah, look, but if you are wary about it, you know, you can put a straw and you can put a chopstick in it, you know, it works.
It's relatively expensive to buy though, Chemex. They're not the cheapest of your brewing devices.
Yeah, because they're made of glass and they're obviously, yeah, compared to like your Harios where they're made of plastic, and yeah, I get that, but look, if you're writing it off against the look of
All the cups of coffee you're gonna make.
exactly, yeah, you know, and it makes, you know, such a good cup of coffee.
And what about folding that paper? Getting a bit used to that probably takes some time, does it?
The folding paper in itself? No, it all comes. It's pre-folded. You know, I think you can buy the circular ones as circle, and then you have to fold them. But other than that, like the ones I buy, the square ones, they're already folded. So no issue really there. Yeah, just make sure you're getting folded ones really. Yeah.
So guys, that was today's episode for Chemex. As always, thanks for joining us. Keep tuned for more future episodes. I'm Jeff from Tree Bark Store.
And I'm Tom from Pangea Coffee Culture.
Thanks guys.
Thanks, Lon.